Hello, everyone. It's me, Gary from Panto Archive. And look, I've got the red sparkly jacket out today because we are with entertainment and soon to be, well, she already is, but Panto royalty. Please welcome our newest and latest member of the Hall of Fame. It's Lesley Joseph. Hello, Lesley.
Whee! Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here and to join our exclusive club in the Panto Archive Hall of Fame.
Well, I reckon I think I've been doing Panto now for about 35 years, but I think I did the first one, oh my goodness, 50 years ago, 55 years ago, something, which was Babes in the Wood, which you'd never get now.
Mm.
So yeah, I realized Panto. And also, okay, so my father bought me, which I only found after he died. It was in the shed. He bought me a Pollock Toy Theatre. I don't know if you've ever been there in Covent Garden, which is amazing. And on it were the background and the backdrops and the people for Wizard of Oz and Aladdin. So that I had as a child. So I thought there's no way I wouldn't grow up to do what I do. I had no choice. And I've got it now. It's amazing. And I found Aladdin with all the characters on little like things you push across the stage. It was amazing. So there
So,
we are.
so it was meant to be, Lesley, from the
It was meant
start
to
then.
be.
There you
Yeah.
go. Well, absolutely fantastic having you today. And once again, congratulations on joining the Hall of Fame. You are a warm welcome member. We've wanted to give you it for years, and we thought 2025 is the best year to give it to you.
Well, that's really good. I mean, I must say, I love Panto. I've done it for so long, and it's really part of my life. And so many friends I've made who do Panto year after year. And sometimes people say, "Oh, it's this, it's that," but I take it really seriously. For me, it's not easy if you do it properly. It can be quite hard, and you've really got to work an audience. So you've really got to know what you're doing. So for me, yeah, it's hard work, but it's wonderful. And also, let's face it, it's one time in the year when the whole family can come together from granny down to a child. And it's so important for live
Mm.
theatre. I love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we are always saying that here on Panto Archive, how it's the introduction for a lot of families and children
It
into
is.
the world of theatre. And you've worked with some incredible people over the years. I mean, we've got our brand new page dedicated just for you, Lesley, out there now. And, I've been looking through these names this morning and, you've been with Sylvester McCoy, you've been with Rob
Yeah.
Rinder, who you're with again this year,
Fourth
Matt
time, yeah.
Flack. Wonderful names, fantastic
But you
career.
know what was one of them when I first after Birds, then everything became a bit more important. I don't know. Suddenly you were somebody that everybody wanted. And I first went to, it was when Paul Elliott was doing pantomime. I went to Richmond, and that was with Linda Elliott. And who else was there? I think that was Sylvester McCoy. Anyway, it was, and then I got asked if I would like to go to Birmingham with Les Dawson and John Nettles. And I said, oh my God, to work with Les Dawson for me would be absolutely amazing. So I said yes. And then he pulled out because he wasn't well. And then he passed away. So I never got to meet him and I never got to work with him. But I worked a lot with John Nettles, who again was amazing. I mean, he played, I did, it was Snow White really, and I did Wicked Queen. And he was, oh no, it was Dick Whittington, that's right. He was King Rat and I was Fairy Bow Bells. And that, I think we still hold the record for bums on seats in Southampton.
Well, there we go. There's an
I
interesting
know.
fact.
But John Nettles was amazing. He played it like a Shakespearean villain.
Mm.
It was extraordinary. It was so good, so good. Yeah.
Does it make you, when you look back at all the years gone by, think, wow, even now as an established performer, and you take the stage and you entertain everyone, but do you still look back and go, my goodness, what incredible people on and off stage that you worked with during Panto,
So, but
especially?
I think I've always been sort of used to it, really. I mean, it's if you're in the business, then somebody could be well known or not well known, be absolutely brilliant, even if they're not well known. They're just people who you work with.
Mm,
So it's never a question of, oh my God, I'm working with so and so. There are some people, obviously, that you admire. I mean, Les Dawson, for me, was a complete legend.
mm,
And I'd love to have worked with him. But when you actually get to work with those people, they're just people. They're just people who are doing their job and who happen to have become really well known in what they do. And to be honest, you never sort of think, oh, I mean, when I was a child, I remember going to the West End Theatre, and Anton Dolin, who you probably won't know because I'm much older than you, was a ballet dancer. And I remember waiting to get his autograph. I think it was at Sadler's Wells or somewhere. And that for me was a world of, but I wasn't in the business then.
mm,
But I remember, the first person I worked with was David Bowie before
mm.
he became David Bowie. I was asked to go and do a live television through a friend of mine who was an agent who said, you just travel out to Teddington every day. And it was a thing called My Country 'Tis of Thee. And there's somebody else who I look after. And you're playing hippies in a police station. We're going back to the 1967. When Mary Quant eyelashes were like that down the cheek. And I traveled out with this man. We used to travel out every day, became really good friends. And we did it. You can't find it anywhere because it was live and it wasn't recorded then. And there was no YouTube or anything. And it was David Bowie.
Fantastic.
And when I think about it now, I think, oh my God. But the thing is, everybody starts somewhere.
Yes.
And, then there are so many people who never achieved the success they deserved because, in a way, it's a small world that you can have people up there.
Mm,
So, I mean, for me, it's wonderful to work with anybody. And what I don't like are people who don't take the business seriously
mm.
because there are so many people who are so good who do. And I just think don't go into it just to be famous or just to, whatever. Go into it because you love it and it's something you have to do. But yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've alluded a little bit where the love of Panto started with that
Yeah.
fantastic,
My Pollock's
little
Toy Theatre.
theatre. Yes. Where did it start performing for you though? Did you start
But
as a
performing,
child?
the first one I did was Babes in the Wood with somebody called Terry Malloy, who used to be in the Archers. I don't think he's with us anymore, but I might be wrong. And Terry and I played the Babes.
Mm.
So, and I've got a picture of me with pigtails like this, wearing a little blue dress, very big. So I can't. I think we did it at the Birmingham Rep, somewhere like that. So that was way before Birds of a Feather,
Mm.
and that was probably my first pantomime. First time I went on stage, I was age 7 at Northampton, singing something from Hansel and Gretel. But the first commercial, if you like, pantomime was at Richmond, where we did, it must have been Cinderella, because I remember when I went into Cinderella, You Shall Go to the Ball, threw my cloak off and threw my wig off with it.
Oh,
And I got a pair of old stocking top holding my hair down underneath. The audience, of course, absolutely loved it. It was with Michaela Strachan. She was hysterical. I kept in character and kept saying, would you please be quiet? This is a really important moment in Cinderella's life. Then, of course, the ponies came on and shat all over the stage. It was one of those real, oh my God, everything's going on. But I always remember it because that was my first sort of back into the world of pantomime when you suddenly become well known.
mm.
And then that was when I got asked to go to Birmingham. And after that, so that was 1991, yeah.
Fantastic. And you've had a really interesting a variety of roles in Panto. You've gone
Mm.
from the evil to the fairies and back to the evil now. Which one do you enjoy the most? Because I know everyone wants
Well, I
to
think
know.
the thing about being evil means you can do more. If you're good, you're usually only good. And sometimes I used to get a bit impatient being good because otherwise everything is all sweet and smiling. And it you didn't have different things to do. Whereas if you're good, that's one thing. But if you're evil, you can be sweetness, you could be lovely, you can sing an evil song, you can sing a sweet song because you're hiding all your evilness.
Mhm.
So I suppose at the end of the day, evil, but evil is hard work. Evil is
Mm.
very hard work. So I've done a lot of Snow White. But when Brian Conley and I did, what did we do? Something Robinson Crusoe and the Caribbean Pirates, I think, at Birmingham. And that I was good. And it was lovely working with Brian.
Mm.
And Matt Slack, who now works at Birmingham, I call my show business son because I adore working with him. And he's there every year. But I love working with him because if he does something different, I know how to duck and dive round him, and similarly the same way. So there are some people you absolutely adore working with. And Matt is certainly one of them. I think he's brilliant. But there are so many people. I mean, love working with Ben Nicholas,
Mm.
Joe McKeldry, who we did the most amazing. Recently, we had Flawless, we had me, we had Joe McKeldry, we had Jill Jordan, we had Faye Brooks, Matt Slack. It was wonderful, and that was Snow White, and Joe was my man in the mirror, and that's what I've been doing for ages with Rob Rinder now. He's man in the mirror, so this
Mm.
will be our 4th year together.
Yeah, and
So I
you're
worked
going
with
to
him when he
Woking,
first
aren't
came.
you?
We're going to Woking, which is lovely because I can have Christmas at home at last.
Oh,
But I spent
wonderful.
last Christmas with Rob down in Plymouth. And Christmas Day, we took all the company down to the Barbican, to the Dolphin, which was amazing. And then my Christmas dinner was cooked by him, which was prawn cocktail and spaghetti bolognese.
Oh,
But he's
fantastic.
brilliant. He's brilliant. He's very good at whatever he does, be it writing a novel, be it
Mm.
defending somebody in court, being working with wonderful Rylan. And I'm thrilled that Rylan, I think Rob must have persuaded him, because I adore Rylan. And he is back for his 2nd year in Southend,
Mm.
and he loved it. And that's the thing, I think, because sometimes before you do pantomime, you have a vision of what it is and what it needs, and you don't actually know what it's like to do it. The wonderful thing I love about pantomime is that you can control an audience to a certain extent. So if they're laughing, you can cut them off when you want them to cut off. You can bring them in and make them laugh. You can throw the nasty out. You can it's like being a dancer. It's like being a singer. It's like being an actor. It's also like being a stand-up comedian. So you cross all those things, all blended into one. And yeah, that's what I love about it. That you really do work an audience. You work with an audience, and
Yeah.
that's wonderful because most plays or musicals that you don't break down the fourth wall. I can
Mm.
remember doing Bromley once. I can't remember what the show was, and I remember being in the middle of the first number and I dried. Not a clue what I didn't. So I just said, "Well, I've not a clue what I'm saying next, so I'll just dance." So I just danced. But you can get away with that. I can remember once walking off the stage about 4 times saying, "Sorry, can't remember what my next line is. Excuse me for a moment." We'll walk off, get back on again and think, "No, sorry, excuse me a moment, walk off again." But sometimes those things happen. You get a complete. But that's what I've heard a lot of people who get to a certain age where they find it difficult to remember what comes next. So I'm
Mm.
praying I don't get to that yet. I'm not as young as I used to be, but we're not quite there yet.
Lesley, you're way off of that just yet. You are entertaining the people fantastically still, and as you say, you've done the Wicked Queen a lot of
Mm.
times now. How do you? And we ask this to a lot of our guests on here. How do you keep it a variety each year for yourself and for fellow cast
But
members?
every show is different. Every show is different. Whatever you do, be it a musical, be it a tragedy, be it a pantomime. So you forget about yesterday, you forget about the matinee. Every time you go on, you talk to it, and don't forget it's a different audience. If you had the same audience every day for 8 shows a week or 12 shows a week with Panto, then that would be different. You'd have to change. But every audience changes. And that's what I say about taking it seriously. Everyone is different. And this audience might not get that joke. So you might have to duck and dive round it and play the next line very differently because they might not have got what you've just said, or they might not have heard it, or you might have stumbled over it. So, every single show is a different show and you're recreating it again. And I would hate to work with anybody that just walked through it. Luckily, I don't, but I would hate to go through somebody who's just earning the pennies and just going through it because that's not what it's about. You know, there are people out there who've paid money and they want to see the best. And otherwise, why would you be in the business? Why would you be in the business if you say, "Oh, I've done this yesterday. Right, let's get through this quickly." That's not what it's about. It's wonderful. It's glorious. Some days you might go on and an audience is way up there that you think, oh my goodness, because an audience also sometimes takes from each other as well. Sometimes they might be slightly quieter, in which case then you play things slightly differently. Sometimes they might be absolutely raucous. Sometimes they might be shouting out practically every line. And that again, you just deal with it. You shout back at them or you say things or you pull them in. And after a while, they'll be quiet and just get on with it. So every audience is different. And that's really important that you just play every audience as if they're the first one you played to.
Yeah, and so true. There's so many people nowadays that think panto is just a bit of fun, and I mean, it's a
Yeah.
compliment in a way because everyone thinks you're just making it up on the spot. But as you say, it's a real art form, and it's so nice
Well,
to
I'm
hear
not
someone
sure
like
that
you.
anybody thinks you're making it up on the spot because I think most people who go into it know that it's got to be rehearsed.
Mm,
And actually, to be honest, the rehearsal is never as long as a musical or a serious play
mm,
because you don't have to dig into the why am I saying this line? It's
mm,
very much out there. If you know pantomime and you've seen it, even if you've never done it, you know why you're saying what you're saying. And it's a question of learning the lines and then working with that other person and working your way into, into working with them. But
mm.
yeah, I mean, audiences know what they're coming for. They know
Yeah.
what they know, and I love it when they shout out. I love it, when they're so involved with you. Although again, Panto has changed. I mean, when I started, Rosemary Ford, who used to do Generation Game, was Dick Whittington.
Mm,
Now you don't get that. You don't get a girl playing the principal boy. That's
mm,
changed a lot. Um, and yeah, things change as, over 30 or 40 years, of course, things are going to change. Some
mm,
things you can't do now that you could do then. Some language you can't use now that you could do then. Again, you have to be really respectful to everybody, either
mm,
in the show or watching the show. Um, so yeah, it always changes. And
mm.
again, I love it because if something happens in the year that's really funny, you can use that and bring it into the pantomime. And it is very much that, keeping an eye on what's going on in the real world, because pantomime is very much like that. You can throw lines out there that get huge laughs.
Mm.
That's something that happened just that morning, and you might not be able to use it the next day, but you can put it in that day, and it will stop the show. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love it because it's every day you're working at it and every day is different. And it's I've always loved it. And I say, going to my next bedroom now and I can see my little Pollock's toy theatre with Aladdin in it and all the characters, and I just think, oh, back when I was a child.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And obviously, as we all know, you don't just do panto, you do lots of other bits and bobs,
Mm.
musicals. What are you up to at the
Musicals
minute,
forever.
Lesley?
So the last musical I did was about 2 years in Sister Act, which I absolutely love. And I'm back to do Adam's Family, um, which I'm doing. It's a very short tour, just for about 8 weeks, but it was such fun. We did it at the Palladium, and it was such fun that when 8 weeks, I thought long term I couldn't do a long tour, but a short tour of 8 weeks, yeah, that's really good fun. So we're doing that. Um, and this year's been full actually of filming in Greece, filming in Malta, been on a cruise, did Q&As on a cruise, which was amazing. So yeah, there've been all sorts of things happening this year. It's before that I had 2 years as a nun, which was originally meant to be with Whoopi Goldberg. And then of course COVID happened. She had to pull out. And then we did 7 weeks at the event of Apollo, then went on tour for about a year and a half, and then did 6 months at the Dominion. I've never done a show that long. And the
Mm.
longest I suppose I've done is Annie, but I dip in and out of it. Probably not now, but the first one I did was 1997. And funny enough, that was at the Victoria Palace. And then at Christmas, I had to leave to go and do pantomime. And Paul Elliott, who was the producer, said, well, I've decided to bring in Paul O'Grady to play Miss Hannigan. And I think that was one of the first times that a man had come in to play an iconic woman's part. And of course, he was brilliant. So Paul and I job shared the next 2 years. And he went to Liverpool, I went to Manchester, he went there, I went here. And we job shared Miss Hannigan between us, which was amazing. He became a really good friend.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting you say that because there's similarities, as there always is with the posters, the bills of the pantos, and you and Paul shared the evil queen role, didn't you, in Snow White
Yeah, we
quite a
did.
lot?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I never saw him. And
Mm,
there's a lot of times. I mean, I can normally get to the Palladium because, and I adore Julian Clary. I think he's just wonderful. And obviously directed and produced by Michael Harrison. And Michael has such a wonderful vision with, oh, it's just everything about it is magic.
mm,
And I suppose that is a thing about Panto as well. There is a lot of magic on the stage. So if you're doing a musical, normally the musical is you see the characters, they do what they do, but with pantomime, magic can happen. So I could be standing here, next thing you know, I've gone and I'm in a wonderful jungle somewhere, or,
mm,
anything can happen in pantomime. And that again is wonderful as a performer, that you can go into a world you didn't know existed. Of course,
mm.
as an actor, but when you're in the character, so there's always different things like that. But yeah, so I try. I remember one year I finished early and I think I went to Newcastle, which is Michael again. I went to Birmingham, I went to the Palladium, and I went somewhere else. Oh, I went somewhere down south. So yeah, I love to see Panto when I can, but most of the time I don't have time.
Yeah, well, Lesley, we're grateful in a way because it means we get you in Panto instead, though. We've nearly come to the end of our little chat, Lesley. Thank you so much. But I do love to ask this question to everyone, which is, if I gave you a fairy godmother's magic wand now, is there a Panto that, and I mean you've done a lot, but if is there one that you'd like to do that you've maybe not done?
Oh my
Um,
goodness, there's a lot that I've never done. I'd love to do Aladdin. I've
mm,
never done Aladdin. What else would I like to do? I've done Cinderella. I've done, well, Babes in the Wood doesn't happen now. I think probably the one would be Aladdin. Um, but I suppose I would play the genie, or I'm not sure what I'd play. Obviously, I can't play the Jew. But I think probably it would be lovely to do Aladdin. That would be great fun. Or the Little Mermaid. They did that up in Newcastle. I'd love to do something like that. Play a different character.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You've all heard it now. Lesley wants Aladdin or Little Mermaid. Well, Lesley, once again, congratulations on
Thank
joining
you.
our Panto Hall of Fame. You really have deserved it. So many people nominated you from the public, and we had to go with it. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
And if you want to read more about Lesley's career, you can do now on the Panto Archive website. Right. We'll see you all again very soon. Thanks once again, Lesley.